Friends, back when I was young, I used to make crossbows and just cool things. I've always had a fascination with, well, with weaponry, but also medieval weaponry. And so one of the things that I wanted to do with my rudimentary forging skills is I wanted to attempt to make either a crossbow or like a stone throw. First off, I have a relatively small anvil, and a one-burner forge, but it seems to get things warm enough. But then I just found a bunch of wood in my backyard, and I'm going to see if I can make something out of this. Obviously, I've got some metal here. These guys, I should be able to make a trigger mechanism out of this, and this should be able to hold things together. Yeah, I'm really not 100% sure what I'm doing, but no matter what, it should be fun. And so I'm just going to try. Measuring. All right. One of the problems that I foresee is attaching the bow to here. Because if I use, obviously if I use pins or nails, it's going to weaken the bow. I could use like a metal bracket, but that might cause stress. Or what I might do is maybe bore a hole here and then use like paracord to hold it in. And I bet that would work. One day my goal is to actually use all traditional tools for projects like this, but today's not that day. There was a knot in one side that would have messed with my plans, so chalk. Just kind of erase that one, and now I will use those as a guide. There you go. Now that I have this cut out, I'm going to chisel away the excess to make it look a little bit nicer, and then I can sand it. This is one of the make or break parts right here, because what I have to do is I have to drill into here to create an area to put the, what the heck is the thing that holds the string and the knock of the bolt. That little doohickey mechanism has to slide in here, and it's basically a cylinder, and it's going to be held by a pin here. So far what I've done is I've created the front notch where the bow goes, this area so the string can go through it without hitting the wood, and I've created this hole. Now here's the deal. I have to actually create the little spinny thingy here, and so it makes no sense to continue digging here because I don't know what size I'm going to need and where I'm going to have to drill this hole. And so I'm going to work on that part next, and that part is going to be tricky, but it should be doable. Then once I get that attached in here, then I have to bring this part in right here and work on the trigger mechanism. Now the trigger mechanism itself I'm going to have to forge because it's kind of a little brackety trigger thing. And so, so that'll be fun because it's always fun to fire up the forge. Plus, it's freezing in here. And no amount of Christmas sweaters are keeping me warm right now. Seriously. Alright, so I have one side of the trigger mechanism sanded and notched the way I want it, and the middle little peg fits through there. And now what I have to do is, on the opposite side of this, I have to make what is going to hold the string. I'm laughing that these are my notes for my my plans, my schematics that I did while I was in between classes today. And I always choose days to do projects like this that I have grading to do. Next, I'm going to work on clearing out this back area right here so that I can add in the trigger mechanism, and then I can get this horrifically horrible triggery thing, which took forever to create, and embed it into there. Well, now I'm in an interesting spot because I have this roughly cut out, and if you look, it kind of would be shook like that. But now what I have to do, I've got that carved out, and now what I have to do is I have to come in from the bottom in order to attach the trigger itself. Interestingly enough, a few minutes ago, my wife said, "What are you doing in there?" And I said, "I'm making a crossbow." And she said, "No, you're not." And then she walked away, and I'm like, okay. The faith. All right, now this part has been unpleasant, but basically what I have is, there's the trigger mechanism, and it freely spins here, and so, here, and I'm just going to have to cut this. Obviously it goes through to the other side, and then I'm going to have to forge the trigger itself. So what I'm going to do right now is do some of the prep work on the bow itself. Basically, I just took a piece of hardwood from my yard, and I'm going to keep one face the way it is, figure out where the center is, taper it down a little bit at each end, and then start bending it and then taking wood away as I go in order to try to make it bend the way I want it to, and then we'll see what happens. So this is pretty much the end of day one, and right now I'm kind of training the bow, and you can see right here there's a weakness there, and so I want to take a little bit off here because it's not the same there, but see there's a little bit of more of a bend there, so that means I had to take a little bit more there and a little bit more off there. But this is going to get it used to bending.